All right. Me and Trevor took a break. We got a fresh set of beer. So we watched a little bit of the Bears game and Vikings game that's going on right now. Right now, the Vikings are beating the Bears, so we'll see what happens later. So, yeah, I mentioned that Trevor's a big Bengals fan. As you can see, he has all the homework. He knows everything and everything, man. I'm a little nervous to go against him on some Bengals content because he has that upper hand on me. But what's kind of tough with the main headline of the Bengals, which is the rookie quarterback, Joe Burrow. So, kind of like beginning of the season, right at draft night, Bengals with the number one pick select Joe Burrow. And then that moment all the way to right after week 10 in NFL. Is he meeting the expectations? Is he not? Is he above? Give me your thoughts on that.
So I really think that, to say that he hasn't met expectations would be, just wrong. He's had the second most pass attempts in the NFL, and for anybody, especially somebody behind that offensive line, I mean, that's just a lot to ask for somebody. I think week 2 he had 61 pass attempts against the Browns. They've asked him to do a lot, and more times than not, he's answered the bell. And everybody had high expectations for him. And for me, like if I had to grade it based on how well he's met my expectations, I'd probably put it like a B, because I think that for him to be an A would be exceeding my already high expectations.
Do you think there is a prospect that you've seen from like a quarterback standpoint in the draft ever?
I guess it's, and that's kind of the hard part of the question, is that I'm not saying he's not an A prospect, but that in terms of my expectations and I think league expectations, has he met them? I think he's done a B job in where he's even been above average in those expectations.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see how quickly he's made an impact on the Bengals organization in general. And we'll get into this a little bit later when we talk about some of his traits. But he's that guy. I mean, you look at guys in the league and you see that and he's been nothing short of great. And in terms of how you can expect, a rookie being thrown into a 2-14 team with a bad offensive line that's only gotten worse throughout the season we had a guy start at right tackle against the Steelers who's played 9 snaps as a tackle, and last week he joined the team, Quentin Spain, and 36 hours later he was starting because we had so many injuries.
Right.
I mean, he's had his bad games. He's missed some throws. He's, held on to the ball too long. But, I mean, you look at, it's not really even his stat line because his stats are good, but they're not, they're not Justin Herbert's, and we'll get to that.
Right.
But you can't look at what this guy does on and off the field and say that he hasn't at least met expectations, if not exceeded them in some ways.
And, kind of like my expectations for him, when he got drafted, right off the bat, I knew he was going to struggle. I never questioned his talent, his work ethic especially. But one thing I noticed when he plays is, like I mentioned earlier, he doesn't make the same mistake twice.
Yep.
He learns. He learns very fast. And as I mentioned, he plays like he's a second-year quarterback. And honestly, as you mentioned, he's top 3 in total pass attempts. And that kind of just tells me right there that the team, the head coach especially, trusts him with the ball. And
100%.
they should give him the ball. I mean, I don't have a problem with him having that many attempts. He's top 5 in overall attempts thrown, and that's a good. I think that's a good thing because that kind of minimizes the stun to his growth.
Yep.
If he's getting that hard hits, those bad throws now and more than ever, he's gonna learn quick. Because I mentioned he's a fast learner.
Yeah.
So if he gets more passing attempts, he's gonna progress just as quickly. And as you mentioned, the O-line, it's hard to work with that O-line. I mean, he's top 3 in overall sacks among starting quarterbacks. And that's next to Carson Wentz and I think Russell Wilson.
Yep.
And being a rookie that's taking that many hits, I prefer not for him to get that many hits just because I want to make sure that his career stays on track. But still, he's learning to avoid those situations with what he has.
Right.
And that's why I think he's kind of playing above the expectations. He's working. Great quarterbacks can make the best of what they have.
Yep.
And I think he's on the path to do that.
Right.
So Yeah, I like how what he's doing so far, and like kind of thinking from more what he's doing for the team.
Right.
Do you think that he's elevating the team in a certain way? It could be kind of like something on the field or off the field.
Yeah. So I mean, like you said, he's making the best of what he's got, which with the Bengals, both as a team right now is currently constructed and as an organization, which anybody who's watched the Bengals in the past, I mean, I've been a fan since '05 with Carson Palmer and Chad Johnson, T.J. Houshmandzadeh, Rudy
I like
Johnson.
Carson Palmer.
Like I've seen it all, and I've seen them, have a team with Andy Dalton, like in 2015, where they started off 8-0. And sometimes I think, man, maybe what if you put like a first or second year Joe Burrow on that team where they ended up losing in heartbreaking fashion to the Pittsburgh Steelers? If anybody remembers a Jeremy Hill fumble, late hit or an illegal hit on Antonio Brown by Vontaze Burfict, we had a lead with 1:30 left. I mean, Andy Dalton is a great person and a very average quarterback. If you put a team around him that can support him, he will, turn out. Joe Burrow is the kind of guy who's going to take things that are worse than him and lift them up. And I think you're seeing that now. Like, the record may not show it, but if you look at, if you take out the last Steelers game and the Ravens game, we've been in every single game that we've played in. And whether it's special teams or defense or, somebody on the offense besides Joe Burrow, they're the ones that have been, I don't want to say losing it because you can never put it on one person or one play, but, Joe Burrow's kept him in almost every single game, and he is the epitome of a guy who's going to make the players around him better. And again, I don't mean to bring up Andy Dalton because great guy, was awesome for the Bengals. We went to the playoffs 5 straight years. Didn't win a game, but arguably the most, or not arguably, inarguably the most successful they've been since the 80s when they went to the Super Bowl twice. And that's our franchise. The 90s were terrible, and 2000s we had some spurts with Carson Palmer, but he's just a guy who, you said on and off the field, I mean, he was named a captain as a rookie coming off a short, so this team didn't even get to see him in the preseason. They didn't get to have, live workouts with him until this, limited training camp, which was, 2 weeks long, 3 weeks long? Yeah. He made an impact on them. And they had the whole situation with Jacob Blake and Kenosha. He actually was chosen by the team to give a little speech, and I apologize, I forget who started it off. Maybe it was DJ Reader, but they elected him to speak on social equality, in speaking out about all the current stuff going on in the system. And this is a rookie. This is a white guy from Ohio. But that just shows that they bought into Joe Burrow right away.
And I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's from, he wasn't born in Ohio, but he grew up in Ohio.
Do you know where he grew
up? He was born in Ames, Iowa.
Yep. You know why?
Iowa State Cyclones.
Yep.
Because his dad was a coordinator, I believe, for the Cyclones. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you put the nail on the bat. I mean, he just has very leadership qualities, and kind of like my thought on how he's elevating the team from a statistical standpoint. Tyler Boyd, he went from top 25 as a receiver in yards to now top 20 year over year within the same time period. Right. So he's obviously getting these guys some more reps and more yards. And T. Higgins, I really like T. Higgins. Right. He's on my fantasy team, and I just won this week too. Thank you, T. Higgins, for all those yards and TDs. I will start you again next week. Just please do the same thing again. But T. Higgins, he's from Clemson, and I knew he was going to be a good receiver, but I didn't expect him to be this great. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he has a good chemistry with Joe Burrow, because T. Higgins is a top target for Joe Burrow, because he's top. I think he's third among the rookies in receiving yards. Yep. So, and I wasn't expecting that going into this draft. So I like how Joe Burrow's given these guys the reps and the receptions and kind of, how showing that leadership qualities. Right. So yeah, let's kind of go deep dive into more of his best traits. And I'll start off. I like how offensively balanced he is. Yeah. You can trust him with the pass game, and you may think like he's he's a white guy. He's not like Lamar Jackson where he can just run the ball wherever
Right,
he pleases.
yeah.
But he knows when to.
Sneakily athletic.
Sneakily athletic. He's not no Christian McCaffrey. But Joe Burrow knows the right moment when to run it.
Yep.
And that's what I like about him. And my favorite part when he's on the field is pocket awareness.
Yep.
He is so aware of what's going on around him. He doesn't flinch like some rookie quarterbacks that I've seen. And when the pressure's hot, especially in that O-line, he just doesn't flinch. He makes the right adjustments, moves away from the pocket if he needs to, scrambles to extend the play, and just follows through with the throw. And with that throw, he just has year over year comparing to the year before his Heisman year. So his first year at LSU versus his second year as a Heisman, his throwing mechanics are just completely a whole different person. And the same thing applies as an NFL quarterback. They're just so fundamentally perfect that it just translates so well in NFL, and he's just so focused on that too. And as I mentioned, I like his work ethic. He had that huge LSU run with the Tigers, and it's just a huge difference in how he was that first year versus his last year. And my understanding during the offseason, he was just so eager, and it definitely helped that LSU had a very great offensive coordinator. And as you can tell, because he's gone now, and LSU's just been to
Brady. Some Brady?
I think it was Dave Arana.
Okay.
But Dave Arana's no longer LSU,
Okay.
and it shows because LSU is not nowhere near as they were.
Right.
But even during the offseason with the Bengals, I recall hearing stories of there was playbook sessions, and he was so eager to get to the next part of the playbook, and the coaches had to, hey, slow down. We're not at that part yet. We'll get to it. And I thought that was just such a neat little small. It's never in the media.
Right.
But but it wasn't a big topic. But it's just
Unless
little
you're a
small
Bengals
thing.
fan.
Right. It's just a small little thing that shows that he's so eager to learn and try to help the team. So that's like one of these traits that we like. On the field, he's so fundamentally sound. Off the field, he has a mind focus, and he's all about the work ethic.
Yeah. No, like you said, I mean, you talk about his pocket awareness. I mean, you saw, what was it, a couple weeks ago, and I tried to pull up this highlight, and I couldn't find it, but it was, I believe, against the Browns, where he dropped back, rolled out, and almost got sacked, I think, 2 or 3 times, scrambled back, cut back, missed another tackle, and it only turned out to be like a 6-yard gain. But it easily could have been a loss of 8 yards on a sack, and he kind of, and I hate making this comparison, and it's not exactly apples to orange or apples to apples, but Ben Roethlisberger, just how he feels the pressure, and he's not blazing fast by Lamar Jackson. He's quick, he's good, but just making people miss, anticipating. He even got lit up. He tried to spin move out like week 2 or 3 and got lit up because he was adjusting to the NFL game. But
the one to mention is his scramble tactics. It kind of reminds me of vintage Aaron Rodgers a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just all about efficient running. It's not he's just running I'm going to scramble and then just go for it. I'm going to scramble to extend the play.
Everything is calculated, and he's not scrambling to take off running. Like, he will if he needs to, but he's still going to stay behind the line of scrimmage as long as he can and look downfield as long as he can. But, kind of what you said about him having a veteran presence with that is that if you go back to week 1 and you see his first touchdown, because he didn't get his first passing touchdown until week 2 against the Browns, he had that 23-yard. He audibled into a QB draw. And if you watch, he gets a lead block, but then he kind of waits behind his lead blocker about 8 yards past the line of scrimmage, waits behind them, lets them get the block, and then he takes off to the end zone.
He anticipated it.
He anticipated it, and he showed patience, which rookies don't usually do that, let alone in their first start for their first touchdown. Like there's not a ton of things that can be said to criticize his pocket presence. And
right. And you mentioned rookies usually don't do that. When I think of rookies, I think they're either two things in that sort of situation, especially in week 2. They're either really gun shy, they're hesitant to do it, or 2, they're a quick trigger. They just do without thinking about the precautions of it.
Happy feet.
They're happy feet, exactly.
Right. But yeah, I mean, just to talk about, briefly talk about some of the traits that, everybody kind of sees with Burrow, but, we've kind of talked about his leadership and we just did touch on his veteran presence, but you know, he was elected a captain as a rookie in a shortened, you know, in a COVID affected season. I mean, that just shows that, you know, to be elected as a captain in a player vote, you know, that short into a expedited off season. I mean, that just shows that as soon as he walked in, he was the guy.
Exactly.
And you're talking about, you know, like in any locker room, you're talking about guys who are from all walks of life. You're talking about guys that have, you know, been, you know, from big programs, small programs. They've been with the Bengals for a long time. They've, you know, just joined the Bengals. They voted for him to, you know, become this captain because they, A, believe in him, and B, know that he's a genuine guy.
Right.
Which, you know, off the field, I think you can see. I mean, he's into SpongeBob. Like he had a quote the other day where he was too scared to watch shows like House as a kid or, you know, anything like that. So he stuck to SpongeBob.
Right.
And, you know, he's a likable guy. And
right.
it doesn't seem forced. It doesn't like, you know, and I'm not going to throw Baker Mayfield under the bus.
I was just thinking of that actually.
But it just, you know, you don't think that like a guy like Baker Mayfield sometimes would say things and be like, he knows what to say. And not just him. I mean, you know, it's easy for anybody to get in front of the camera and say, hey, you know, say the right thing.
Right.
But with Joe Burrow, it just seems, you know, genuine. And,
right.
You know, again, I'm kind of rolling all these up into one. But, you know, after their first win against the Jacksonville Jaguars, he tweets maybe once a month, twice a month. So all he tweeted was, winning is fun.
Yeah, I did see that
you know?
one.
And
right.
Sorry, no, one more. You know, so there was one when they had their second win against the Titans. He put up a picture on Instagram of one of the corners missing a tackle on his scramble, and he just said social distancing.
Oh yeah.
You know, like just you know, he's a little snarky. He's got kind of a, you know, glimmer in his eye. He's you know, he's a guy that you'd want to get a beer with or want to just chill out with. He seems legitimate. You know?
Yeah, I do like. Yeah, he's real self-aware of himself, but he's still confident. And quarterbacks, they're all confident in themselves. I've seen cocky quarterbacks. I've seen just confident quarterbacks. And he's one of them. Yeah. So yeah, as you can tell, I mean, we have a lot to talk about Joe Burrow, but I want to dive into something about the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. So we're going to take a quick break, and me and Trevor are going to discuss who should be the true candidate for Rookie of the Year. I'll give you a hint. Our opinions might be a little different, so let's stay tuned.